Hey everyone, welcome back to another mobile devlog. Last time, we started building our price system, but we didn't quite finish it. If you remember last episode, I talked about the 4 factors that needed to be implemented in order to have a working price system. If you haven't seen that episode, I recommend you check it out before this one. The full Mobiledev playlist is in the description below. Last episode, we managed to implement 3 of those 4 factors of influence, but one last remains, the events. Events will not only be a big influence for prices in the game, they will also play a major part in the gameplay. Whenever the player is traveling, there will be a random chance of an event happening. Events will take multiple different forms and they can be convenient or inconvenient for the player. Today, we're not going to decide of the entirety of the events, but we will rather limit ourselves to a very specific type of events, price events. These are random things happening in the world that increase or decrease the prices of certain items. For example, a fictive war being declared in the game's universe could skyrocket the prices of swords. Of course, these events could also tank the price of certain items. First of all, before getting into the work I've done on this, I have a major improvement to make to the game. Something I should have done a long time ago. It's time to upgrade the map. I don't know about you, but I'm very tired of looking at this green and blue pattern. It's a real eyesore, and at this point it's basically burnt into my eyes, and I don't like it. Luckily, I found this awesome tool called Asgard's Free Fantasy Map Generator. I played around with it for a while and ended up with this very cool map. I tried importing the new map straight into Unity, but it was too large, so I had to download it as 64 separate images and then reconstruct them as tiles to finally have it ready to use. Wow, this feels like a breath of fresh air. Surely that's worth a like, right? We now have a huge map to explore and modify to our heart's content. By the way, 65% of you aren't subscribed, so why not hit the button? That way you won't miss any future episode, and also I have Twitter now, so go follow me on there. Back to the video. After this much needed visual overhaul, I got started on the event system. First of all, that meant designing a new UI window to warn the player of the events. I copied the city UI, changed the city name to event name, added a description text field for the event, and changed the go button for an OK button. Pretty simple. Then I got started on the code. And wow, would you look at that, I'm already done. That definitely didn't take multiple hours. The UI code isn't everything though, so I also coded the actual events. I made a custom menu to be able to create all the events I could possibly need. Now we need to come up with a couple events. I created famine, which changes a whole item type, the type being food. The change is positive, meaning all food prices will go up. The other events I created are war, which boosts the price of swords specifically, and avalanche, which increases the price of every item in a mountain village. What's interesting about these 3 events is that they are of 3 different types. One changes all items of a specific type, another changes a specific item, and the other changes items for a specific city type. I'll add many more events and event types in the future, but for now, this is all we need to test the system. For testing purposes, I made it so a new event happens every 45 seconds. That way, we'll be able to track accurately what happens in the economy. Good, so let's start up our game and... Oh yeah, that's not supposed to happen. So it looks like every events are triggering at the same time. That's not what we want. Okay, second try. The text isn't formatted, but that's fine. But now the prices are destroyed and none of the buttons work. Third time's the charm, and now we take a look at our initial prices, 52 for a sword, and then, while we travel to Blue City, an event happens, war. Swords now cost more, and when we arrive at our mountain city, we see that swords are worth 72. Awesome, that's a functional event system. Took me about 10 hours of coding to make it work like I wanted. After making that, I changed the base price of every item so it made a bit more sense. Low prices give bad results with the system I have because if a 1 gold item gets a 40% increase in price, it's still gonna cost 1 gold because prices are rounded. Since we've been looking at a lot of numbers in the last few episodes, I'm gonna give you a break and we're gonna take a look at something that's a bit more fun, visuals. I already changed the map earlier, but I think it's time I give our UI windows a bit of an overhaul as well. First order of business, let's find a font that isn't boring to read. I went to the asset store to take a look at free fonts. I first looked up at a pixel font, which I thought was pretty cool, but I didn't really feel like it would fit the style of the game right now, and the other option felt way too massive for small text. Unfortunately, the selection of font was pretty limited in free assets, so I didn't find anything that I really liked. So I jumped to the next step, finding a better UI background. This little gray box has served us well, but I think we're ready for something a bit more detailed. I started browsing and instantly liked this one. It feels really fitting for a merchant game. I imported it into Unity and started replacing the old UI. I started with the buy window, and once I was done, I was pretty satisfied with the result, so I moved on to the other windows. While I really love the parchment background, the button is not my favorite. It's made to be long, but I prefer square buttons or buttons that are a bit thicker. Still, it's a nice result, and that will do for now. After finishing all the UI windows, I decided to put a bit of variety in the cities to better show their respective biomes and market types. While moving the cities, I thought of a new city type, port cities. This type of cities near water could sell fish, salt, fishing equipment, and things as such. I coded in this type and made it so that our green city is of this type. Great, with that done, I got started on another problem, buying upgrades. All the code in the UI is there, so it's easy to trade items, but buying player upgrades is not possible at the moment. First of all, I had to think of where I was going to put the upgrade menu. I opted to change the settings button into an upgrade button for now. The settings button doesn't need to take that much space and can go somewhere else once I'm actually ready to implement settings. I cycled through a few icons before deciding on this book as the temporary button. Next, I had to design the UI for the upgrade window. I started with the basics to make a window appear, and now I had to figure out how to handle upgrades. Since I'm still unsure about all the upgrades that are going to be in the game, I have to make something that can scale to accommodate any future upgrades I could possibly want to implement. After thinking for a while, I came up with a decent solution and started coding it. Just like the market items, the upgrades will show up as buttons you can click. I've left a spot to put a picture representing the upgrade, but I don't have anything to put there yet. We can see the name of the upgrade, the level of that specific upgrade, and the cost. When we click on an upgrade, a confirmation box appears, and it also tells us what the upgrades will do. So for us, I clicked on the max gold upgrade, which costs 1.5 thousand gold, and will upgrade max gold from 2,000 up to 5,000. We've done some good work on the visual and the prices, and things are starting to come together very nicely. A few things are left to implement, like market quantities and an idle system, but after that's done, we can start adding small details, building the map, and essentially start working on a more definitive version of the game. Anyways, that's it for today. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, follow me on Twitter, leave a comment, but most importantly, stay hydrated, and I will see you next week. Bye!